things off for the Maryland Terrapins. Luke Schliger, the catcher, bats from the left side. 3 for 8 this series. First pitch of the ball game in there for a strike, and off we go here from Bloomington. A cloudy day. Rain is hopefully going to hold off. We saw some raindrops right before, and it looks like that's dried up for now. Kraft misses outside at 80 miles an hour. Kraft pitched last weekend for the Hoosiers in their non-conference home series against Ohio. Pitched on the 21st, pitched 4 2/3 innings. And drops in a strike, and he's ahead on Schliger at 1-2.
And in that outing, he gave up a handful of runs. It wasn't a great outing by the standards of Ryan Kraft, but it broke a streak of about 30-plus innings without allowing a run.
1-2, swung on in, missed for strike 3. Good start for Ryan Kraft as he sits down Schliger for the first out here in the first.
That's when Ryan Kraft is at his best. We saw in that last outing when he gave up those handful of runs, it was a lot of weak contact. The ball found some outfield grass, found some holes in the infield. When he's at his best, he's striking out hitters and attacking early in counts.
So now here's Matt Shaw, one of the most dangerous hitters in the Big Ten, and he takes a big cut and a miss at strike 1. Shaw hitting .358 this season, 17 home runs. That leads the Big Ten. One in on the fist over to first base. That's where Brock Tibbetts is. Quickly 2 up, 2 down.
Heading into this game, this final series finale of this series, Matt Shaw was hitting 6 for 9. He was 6 for 9 heading into this game. Throughout the first 2 games of the series, that's a big out and a quick out for Kraft.
So now here's Nick LaRusso. .365, that leads this Maryland team. First pitch, he goes after and hits it in the air to center field. Sends Whalen back, but he makes the catch, and that is a 7-pitch, 1-2-3 inning. A perfect start for Ryan Kraft, and Indiana will get the bats ready for the bottom of the first as Jason Savacool, the Maryland ace, will take his warm-up pitches. We'll take our first break here on Big Ten Plus. There's no score. First pitch to Philip Glasser, the Indiana leadoff man, is down low. Glasser hitting .364, leads the Big Ten with 184 at-bats this year. Misses low. I talked with Glasser yesterday after the game, and being an older guy, and of course this young team really hasn't faced too much adversity, and for the first time this year, Indiana could get swept in a series against one team as there's a get-me-over strike. He's just trying to keep the guys calm and make sure that the frustrations that they've had from the last 2 games doesn't carry over into this game.
And this is a guy in Glasser who's hitting over .420 about a month into the season.
Glasser does go around, according to third base umpire John Coons. We have Jason Stidham behind the plate calling balls and strikes. Scott Wyckoff over at first, David Buck at second. Glasser stays alive. Savacool has a .390 ERA this year. He's 4-4. This is his 11th start, and he has 60 innings flat. 59 strikeouts to 21 walks. Opponents hitting just .241. He has been their ace all year. 2-2, full count.
Can already see a better approach at the plate to begin this one from Glasser. Working the count, he's already got a full count here against Savacool.
Full count. Swing and a fly ball out to left center field. Lambros and Patrutz. It is Lambros, the center fielder, who makes the catch for the first out. Absolutely, Maryland has really saved their starters, or I should say their star relievers, in case they need them in this game. First pitch to Bobby Whalen is a strike. Whalen hitting .288 this season. Checks his swing on that pitch that is well outside, and he does in fact hold up. Whalen had his 11-game hitting streak snapped this weekend. Still has hits in 12 of his last 13. The center fielder for Indiana. 1 home run, 26 RBI. Quickly take you through the Maryland defense behind Savacool. We saw Patrutz and Lambros out in left and center. It's Woods out and right. Jason Orr at third, Matt Shaw at short, Kevin Keister at second, and Eddie Hakopian at first, with Luke Schliger behind the plate and Jason Savacool on the mound, the 6'1", 210 junior from Baldwinsville, New York. 3-1. There's a strike. Full count. Fouled straight back. Already seems like these approaches for the Indiana hitters much better. They really struggle. They were victims to many strikeouts on Friday. Yesterday, 16 ground ball outs worked by Maryland pitching. And there is a walk from Whalen. He'll hustle to first as the ball gets past the catcher Schliger, but Whalen will stay put, and he's worked himself a one-out walk. It's walk number 26 for Whalen this season. He's now one behind Carter Matheson for most on the team. And here is Devin Taylor, star freshman, hitting .341, 11 home runs, and 41 runs batted in. 11 home runs, leads the team by a good margin. Whalen off of first, 3 stolen bases this season. Savakul will check back. Taylor had his 12-game hitting streak snapped yesterday, the right fielder. Saw him a lot of DH earlier this year, but now playing a bit more of the outfield. Swings at that pitch and loops it foul, third base side.
It's kind of been the issue lately for Devin Taylor. He's late on that pitch, and he's been late on a lot of pitches. He's had a lot of pitches, especially in this series, where he's kind of check swung or half swung and hasn't really seen the ball out of the hands of these Maryland pitchers very well, and you can tell by the way he's kind of half swung at some of these pitches as of late.
1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Bottom of the first, no score. Top 2 teams in the Big Ten. Taylor, a big swing and a miss.
Also fooled on a lot of balls in the dirt as of late as well.
Looked like he was fooled on that one, and now he's behind 1-2. Brock Tibbetts waits on deck. They have the shift on. 3 infielders on the right side for the freshman Taylor, and a check back at first to Bobby Whalen. Savakul last time out on the 21st against Purdue. Pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 7 runs, 6 of them earned. Took a loss, 105 pitches. 1-2 again, misses low. The minimum number of pitches that Savakul has thrown in a start this year, Zach, at this 93 pitches. That was back on March the 17th against UAlbany, so he is a dog to say the least.
He's also lacked a little bit of command. That's also been a factor.
That's why the pitch count already high. This will be pitch number 19 already in the first. 2-2 to Taylor, and he lines it right at the second baseman, and that's a double play. Just like that, the inning is over. Ball hit on the screws to Keister, but he tosses it over to Hakopian, and that will do it for the bottom of the first. Chillier afternoon here, 48 degrees at first pitch. Wind at 10 miles an hour blowing out to right field, which would benefit a hitter like Ian Petrutz, who's now at the plate, the left fielder. 2 for 9 this series, had a home run yesterday. Takes a first pitch strike from Ryan Kraft. Maryland taking the first 2 games in this series, looking to sweep Indiana. There's a ball back to Kraft. 1 out.
Good job there by Kraft. You see after he fields that ball on the mound, he takes a couple of steps to jog over to first base to shorten that throw, the underhand toss. Some pitchers have troubles making that throw to first, and that's why you see a lot of them run over there to shorten that throw, shorten that toss.
Now it's Eddie Hakopian, the first baseman, working on an 11-game hitting streak. .268 batter this season. First pitch in there for a strike. Should correct myself, he's hitting .337, one of the top hitters on this team. Misses on the inside half from Kraft.
It just shows the depth of this lineup. The 5-hole hitter hitting .337.
Pitch misses low from the left-hander. Two one. Lined, fair ball over the head of Tibbetts and into the corner in right field. Taylor will get the ball, but it is a stand-up double for Eddie Hakopian, who continues to swing a hot bat. He's now got a hitting streak that has reached a dozen.
That's the danger when you face a lineup like the Maryland Terrapins have. Extra base hits can come anytime at any point in the lineup. When we talked to head coach Rob Vaughn before the game, he said the depth of the lineup, the length of the lineup has really provided a spark, especially in this series 1 through 9. They're hitting and firing on all cylinders.
It's double number 96 for the Terrapins this season. It's Hakopian's 12th. And the next pitch is hit the other way. That's going to be another extra base hit, this time for Matt Woods. Hakopian will score, Jesse will get it out of left field, and back-to-back doubles gives the Terrapins the lead here in the second.
Through that first inning, the first four or five batters, I should say four, the first 4 outs that Ryan Kraft got, he was really cruising, throwing about 10 pitches, and then back-to-back doubles, one down the right field line, one down the left field line, and just like that, the Terrapins had the lead. This offense can really spark out of nowhere.
So now it's Elijah Lambros, left fielder, 277 hitter, swings at the first pitch and fouls it back. Well, these Maryland hitters are attacking Kraft early. Only took him 7 pitches to get out of the first. He's only thrown 8 pitches in this inning, but already a run on the board for the Terps.
Thing with Maryland so far this series, they've beaten Indiana with crooked numbers and they've beaten Indiana without crooked numbers. We saw in the first game of the series a lot of 1-run innings, a lot of 2-run innings, or in the second game, I should say.
And a couple big innings, which kind of were they allowed to pull away, essentially, in each of the first 2 games, outscored the Hoosiers 29-4. And head coach Rob Vaughn said they basically played 2 complete games on all 3 sides of the baseball. 1-2 is chopped foul as Lambros stays alive.
That's something that Indiana has struggled with a little bit. Indiana pitchers struggling to put away some of these batters this year. Ryan Kraft, one of those who struggled getting that put away pitch.
He's got good strikeout numbers, 37 of them in 42 innings this season. And now Ceruto calls time. Hunter Jesse, Bobby Whalen, Devin Taylor, left to right in the Indiana outfield. Josh Pine, Philip Glasser, Tyler Cerny, Brock Tibbetts, the usual infield. And Ceruto is behind the plate. And there's another base hit the other way from Lambros into right. The strong throw from Taylor will hold Woods at third. But now 3 straight hits for the Terrapins. They continue to hit the cover off the ball in this series, and they have runners on the corners with 1 out.
It's something we've seen all series long. Tyler Cerny shifted a little bit closer to second base than he typically would be, left a wide open hole on the right side of the infield, and it's an early mound visit for the Hoosiers. We're just trying to limit the damage. You've already given up that 1 run. You've got a runner in scoring position on third base with 1 out. Just limit the damage if you're Ryan Kraft.
Would love a ground ball here as Jacob Orr, the third baseman, squares around to bunt, and it's a good one. A run will score. Kraft fields, and underhand toss is in time, but another run and a little bit of small ball this time from the Terrapins to get that second run across.
Showing the versatility of the offense, we've seen 2 extra base hits, a single, and now a bunt that scores a run for the Terrapins. They're doing it all offensively, hitting for power, small ball as well. The base running's been fantastic this series for Maryland. They're doing it all offensively.
A safety squeeze scores Woods. Lambros up to second, and now Kevin Keister, the second baseman, takes a ball. So now 2 outs here in the top of the second inning, already 2 across for the Terps. Have really led wire to wire in this entire series. 1-0 is cut on and missed. So Orr gets an RBI on that bunt. 2 1-3 putouts recorded. Now it's the 9-man in the order, Kevin Keister. Hitting .281, 6 home runs, 34 runs batted in.
He's got 5 hits in this series, and he's a guy that head coach Rob Vaughn noted has been playing very well in this series.
Check back to second. Lambros slides back in safely.
Another situation, we just saw it a couple batters ago, a wide open hole on that right side of the infield for Indiana. Tyler Cerny's holding the runner on at second, leaving a wide open gap.
That one in on the hands, but head out to center field. Whalen coming on. He will make the catch, and that will do it here for the side in the top of the second. But Maryland scores 2, courtesy of 3 hits. Back-to-back doubles gets them on the board, and Indiana will bat in the bottom of the second, trailing by 2, trying to avoid the sweep on Big Ten Plus. Indiana trying to avoid being swept by a team at home for the first time in 12 seasons. Minnesota, the last team to do it in 2011. Maryland has come in here and completely ripped the cover off the ball. Won the first 2 games handedly, 13-2 on Friday, 16-2 yesterday. Already leading 2-0 here, and they have their best starter out there in Savakul. But right as I say that, Brock Tibbetts grounds a single into left field through the hole in the left side of the infield. A good start here for Indiana in the second.
But no crooked numbers. Can Indiana string multiple hits together?
Now it's Carter Matheson, the DH. Bats from the left side. Takes a strike. Matheson working on a 5-game hitting streak. 280 hitter, 7 home runs, 31 runs batted in. Remember, he broke the record for most home runs by an Indiana freshman last year, which was held by now big leaguer Alex Dickerson. Just misses outside from Savakul.
Jeff Mercer, the head coach for the Hoosiers, has noted that Carter Matheson has begun to take that turn. He started off slow this season, but he's looking to get back to his former self.
Yeah, slow start last year, and we all know he ended as one of the best Indiana hitters as he skies one into shallow left field. Going to be a tough play, but the left fielder moves over and makes the catch. That's Petrutz. The wind playing a factor. And there's the first out here in the second. Got well under that one. Now here's Josh Pine, the third baseman. Can't check his swing successfully. Scott Wyckoff says he went around. Indiana was not pleased with the umpiring crew yesterday. They thought they had a successful pickoff at third base, and I caught stealing as Pine sends that one into right field. Woods moving over. Does he have room? He does as he collides into the wall. A nice play from Matt Woods going to his left on the forehand as Tibbetts retreats to first. And quickly, there are 2 outs after the leadoff single from Tibbetts.
Matt Woods showing off some speed on that play. He was on his horse into the right field corner to corral that one, and then the body control to be able to slow down just in time to not completely careen into the wall.
Bryant transfer covering a lot of ground out there. Now the first pitch Tyler Cerny sees, he swings at it, and the easy play is made from Shaw to Keister. And Indiana, after the leadoff single, goes down relatively quietly. 2 flyouts and then a ground out from Tyler Cerny, who is now 1 for 8 in this series. We'll head to the top of the third inning. Maryland up by 2, looking to add more as they look for a 3-game sweep and extend their lead on the top of the Big Ten here on Big Ten Plus. Looking to complete a 3-game sweep over the Hoosiers. It's Luke Schliger, the catcher, struck out in the first inning and swings at the first pitch and hits it deep into center field. Whalen going back. He'll have enough room just in front of the track. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the third.
Warning track power there from Luke Schliger. It's a guy who has a lot of power, 11 home runs, just didn't quite get enough of that one, and we see it again there, ambushing that first pitch from Ryan Kraft. The Terrapins not concerned with working the counts, unlike the Hoosiers this afternoon. The Terrapins ready to jump.
Came in with an on-base percentage over 500, but now 0 for 2, as now here's Matt Shaw, the shortstop. Cape Cod Summer Player of the Year and was a champion with the Bourne Braves. First team All-Big Ten a year ago, and he swings at the second pitch and ropes it into left field in front of Hunter Jesse. Another hard hit ball for Maryland in this ball game, and they have a runner on with 1 out in the third.
Elite is how Matt Shaw was described by head coach Rob Vaughn before the game started. He's just been fantastic all year, all season too. He's just doing it all. Extra base hits, power, you see a single right there, and he's played great defense as well.
Leads the Big Ten in homers with 17, and right behind him in the lineup and in that category is Nick LaRusso, who's now at the plate. Shaw is someone that Vaughn mentioned is just one of those guys who really, he's so coachable and someone who's just got so much talent. He's really one in his own class and someone who's just so much different from everyone else with the way he works.
A true 5-tool player. He's got 14 stolen bases and also 17 home runs on the year and hits for average as well.
Slides back into first. Shaw also, yeah, he mentioned a 5-2 player, 14 for 15 stolen bases. Been caught just once this year. Now LaRusso leads the team in at-bats, just a few behind Glasser in the Big Ten category as well. 1-1 on LaRusso. Leads the Big Ten in RBIs as well with 68. This is a Maryland lineup that really there is nowhere you can hide against the Terps. 1-1, just outside from Kraft.
It's difficult for opposing pitchers because you don't want to give them a pitch in the strike zone. They hammer pitches in the strike zone, whether it's a breaking ball or a fastball, but if you pitch them outside the strike zone trying to get them to chase, they simply won't.
Trying to get that outside corner on 2-1, but no dice, and now it's 3 balls and a strike. So a hitter's count here for LaRusso, working on a 9-game hitting streak, 4 for 6 in this series. Had a hamstring injury, a check back at first, a few weeks ago, but his recovery, Rob Bond said, was pretty good, and they expected him to be out for longer than he was. But the Villanova transfer is back in the lineup, and he takes a 5-pitch walk. As Kraft's pitch count beginning to rise a little bit, so now first and second for Ian Petrutz.
That's something you must avoid if you're Ryan Kraft on the mound. Free passes for this team will come back to bite you in the butt if you're the Indiana Hoosiers.
Petrutz, who has had big hits against Indiana. If you go back to the Big Ten tournament last year, in the first round game, as the first pitch, Petrutz sees, he hits it into left center field. That'll dunk in front of Whalen. Coming around to score is Shaw, and he will slide in safely as the ball is cut off in front of the pitcher's mound by Tibbetts. It's an RBI hit for Petrutz, his 3rd of the series, and it is a 3-0 lead for Maryland.
That's something that the Terps have done very well, according to their head coach, Rob Vaughn, this series. Finishing off the Hoosiers, they've gotten out to big leads, but with an offense like Indiana who can put up a lot of runs at pretty much any given time, you have to be able to extend that lead. It's not enough to just rest on a 2 or 3 run lead.
Nice hit just into left center field. And he mentioned, the words he used was, no lead is safe against this Indiana offense. So we know the struggles that Maryland's bullpen has had this year, just not a ton of depth. The good thing is their top relievers are ready for this game if they are needed. And there's a strike to Hakopian, the first baseman, who doubled and scored back in the last inning. I was going to mention Petrutz last year in the game that Maryland won in extra innings in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. He had the game-tying hit in regulation and then a game-winning hit by pitch against the Hoosiers in Omaha. Of course, Indiana got their revenge by beating the Terps in an elimination game. It was the first 8 seed ever to beat a 1 seed, and their season ended around 3 a.m. against Rutgers. Fouls that one back, and now it's 1-2.
What makes this Maryland team so hard to navigate, even when there are nobody on and there's 2 runners on here, it's so hard to pitch. You have to make a perfect pitch because they're a threat to leave the ballpark anytime.
1-2. Down and away. Hakopian does not bite. That's something that Jeff Mercer was saying, that even if you throw a good pitch, sometimes if you just miss the spot by a little bit, they're going to punish you. And he referred to the Petrutz homer yesterday where he said it was a good cutter and a good part of the zone, but these hitters are just sometimes too good for you. 2-2, did he go? No, he did not. Now the count is full with 1 out here. 2 runners on for the Terrapins, already leading 3-0. 5 hits in this game for Maryland, just 1 for Indiana. Kraft out of the stretch, full count again. That one is line foul, tailing down the right field line, and they'll do it again.
This is a talented Maryland offense who's really playing at the top of their games right now. They're just firing on all cylinders. Every at-bat is a quality at-bat for the Terps right now.
Kraft looks at the sign from the dugout, which is relayed into Peter Ceruto's ear. 3-2, that one is lined into center field. That's another base hit in front of Whalen. Taking the turnaround third is LaRusso. Going to third is Petrutz. He slides in safely. It's an RBI single for Hakopian, who's fired up as he looks towards the dugout. 2 runs in the second for Maryland, now 2 in the third against Ryan Kraft, and the Terrapins 4-0 lead already here in the third.
And it's the little things. Going first or third there for Petrutz on a single to center field. It's those little things that really separate a good offense from a great offense, and we're seeing a great offense, especially this weekend for Maryland.
You bet. They average over 9 runs a game this season. Just about 11 hits, 406 runs this season. This is game number 45 for both these teams. Maryland looking for win number 30. And there's a bunt shown by Woods, but he pops it up, and the catch is made by Josh Pine. So a rare unproductive at-bat for Woods, who had an RBI double in the last inning. Second time Maryland has tried to bunt their way for a run, but this time Woods gets well under it, and that's the last thing you want to do when you're bunting.
Yeah, and a good play there by Josh Pine, crashing in from third base and calling off his pitcher. That's a tough play for a pitcher to make. Obviously, the mound a little bit elevated. You have to come off that mound and adjust to that elevation while you're looking in the air. Good play from Pine to call him off.
So now here's Lambros. First pitch on the inside half for strike one. Petrut still on third, Hakopian on first. $4-0 lead for Maryland. They have now outscored Indiana 33-4 in the 3 games thus far. 1-1. Lambros, a South Carolina transfer, just 5 for 33 last year with 5 RBIs in 36 games for the Gamecocks. #1 outfielder in Virginia, according to Perfect Game. Takes a strike, and it's 1-2.
I think it's safe to say Lambros didn't exactly agree with those last 2 calls.
It's like Indiana needs to get every call they possibly can, because if you miss a spot, Maryland will make you pay. 1-2. Upstairs, 2-2. Indiana came into the series top team in the Big Ten at 9-3, having only lost just once at home all season. That was to Iowa, but they came back to win that series after losing on Friday. That's something that Kara touched on earlier, that Indiana, they faced adversity. They've lost the first game. They've come back, but it feels like in this series just so much different given the way they've lost. 2 blowout losses to Maryland. It's not gotten any easier today. Full count pitch. I was going to say the runner's on the move, but a check back from Kraft over to Hakopian at first.
Big pitch here for Kraft. The runners will be in motion, so an extra base hit here most likely scores the runner from first.
Kraft appears in. Full count offering. Upstairs, ball 4. Good at bat, worked by Lambros. He was down on the count. Didn't agree with some of the calls, but still works himself a base on ball, so he's on for the 2nd time today. And now ducks on the pond for everybody. And Jacob Orr comes to the plate, the 3rd baseman.
That's a 7-hole hitter for the Terrapins. Elijah Lambros hitting .277, a .561 slugging percentage, non-base percentage just shy of 400, and he's working back from a 1-2 hole to work a 2-out walk.
Ball 1.
Now Jacob Orr, you've got another guy who's been really good in this series and this season as a whole. Maybe not the numbers that he's liked, but now we're going to get a meeting on the mound with the entire infield.
No sign of Dustin Glenn, but there is sign of some commotion in the Indiana bullpen out in left field. Some guys jogging out there, grabbing some stuff from the clubhouse. And you would assume someone's going to get warm. You see the bands out there for Indiana. Bases loaded for Maryland. Top of the 3rd inning. 8-hitter Jacob Orr at the plate. He grounded back to Kraft in the 2nd. Already the 8th hitter had come to bat in this inning. And he fouls it straight back. Goes off the netting. The count is 1-1. We mentioned this is Kraft, just his first start this year. Did throw 95 pitches against Ohio last week on Friday in that tight 9-8 win over the Bobcats. Swing and a miss from Orr, and Kraft is ahead 1-2.
Obviously he's still in the game now, but he hasn't had an outing since the 21st of March where he went less than 4 innings.
1-2, up and away. Well, this is a Maryland team that just does not extend, does not chase out of the strike zone. Makes it so difficult and runs pitch counts up pretty high. This will be Kraft's 53rd pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, bases loaded. Here it comes. Foul tip, or just gets a piece to stay alive.
And then when you do make a good pitch like that, they foul it off and live to see another one.
It's got to be so frustrating for this Indiana pitching staff. It's an Indiana team which Jeff Mercer mentioned that it feels like in the last 10 days or so have really been ready for Maryland with a non-conference series last week and a couple midweek games as well. And there is a big swing and a miss. Kraft does sit down Orr to record his 2nd strikeout on the afternoon, but not before Maryland adds another 2 runs. They get 3 hits, but leave the bases loaded. Indiana's got some work to do in the bottom of the 3rd inning, and they will have 8-9-1 due up on the other side of this break here on Big Ten Plus. of course, won the Big Ten for the first time in their program history last season. Ceruto, the first pitch he sees, hits it on the ground to second base. Backhand play made by Keister. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the third for Savakul.
And when you're trying to work the counts and get into that Maryland bullpen, those are at-bats you can't have. 1 pitch and it's an out.
A lot of weak contact. That's been the theme all weekend for Indiana. 16 groundouts yesterday. It was a lot of strikeouts on Friday. Been a mix today, but all balls in play again. Savakul, not a known strikeout guy. Quickly behind Hunter Jesse 2-0. Jesse 3 for his last 17. The bottom of this Indiana lineup, 7 through 9, has struggled a bit lately, hitting a cold spell. 3 balls and no strikes. Savakul has worked quickly here. You can understand he's got a 4-0 lead.
This is the important part of the order. You mentioned they're struggling. When they can turn the lineup over and get to the top, that's when they're at their best.
There's a strike, 3-0.
The likes of Peter Ceruto, Hunter Jesse, Tyler Cerny, who's a Big Ten Freshman of the Week a few weeks ago. They just haven't been as good recently.
There's another strike, this time on the outside corner. Of course, Indiana is still missing Matthew Ellis. Their catcher, been out for the majority of this month. Been a wrist injury. And we talked with Jeff Mercer this week, and he said there's really no timetable for his return. They're going to just take it day by day. But it feels like for now you could rule it out indefinitely because we haven't seen him in a while, and that's a big lefty bat that Indiana has really missed.
You can see maybe fatigue starting to set in for Ceruto. He's pretty much caught every game.
3-2. Jesse works a walk. He was up 3-0. Count got back to 3-2, but Hunter Jesse, the 9-hitter, as we mentioned, a guy who can be that second leadoff guy. Glasser, the Youngstown State transfer in his second season with the Hoosiers. That pitch gets away. Glasser was trying to pretend as if he was the third base coach and tell Jesse to go to second. But he looks over at Indiana's true third base coach and Derek Simmons. And, of course, you don't want to make the second out on the bases when you're trailing by 4 so early into this game, still in the bottom of the third. 1-0 down low, and now twice in this inning, Savakul is behind an Indiana left-handed hitter. Glasser hit .346 with 3 home runs and 25 RBIs for Indiana last season, hitting .364 this year, and he grounds that one right side. That's a base hit. Jesse will take the turnaround second, but will hold there. So finally, Indiana getting something going on the base pass. A walk and a single for Indiana. Now Bobby Whalen will bat. He already walked back in the first.
On it as well, and he gets it out there into right field.
Hit streak is now up to 14 for Glasser, and now Whalen takes a strike.
Glasser guy we talked to yesterday, and he said when the lineup is as deep as it is for Indiana, it really takes a lot of pressure off him at the top of the order.
0-1, now 0-2 as Whalen fouls that one towards the Maryland dugout. Some good speed on the bases here for Indiana. Between Jesse and Glasser, the two combined 15 for 18 on the base paths. 0-2 as that ball is retrieved by someone on the Maryland bench.
So where the Hoosiers have struggled this series, 15 left on base through the first 2 games.
0-2, swung on and missed as Whalen chased after a really good off-speed pitch, down and away from Savakul. That's his first strikeout of the afternoon and a big one, as now there's 2 down. Again, the shift is on for Maryland. First pitch to Taylor, swinging a deep drive out to right center field. You can forget about it. Indiana gets on the scoreboard in a loud way as Taylor crushes that ball deep into right center over that second fence. Just like that, it's a 4-3 ball game as Taylor extends the team lead with his 12th dong of the season.
After he swung and hit that one, he knew it was gone off the bat, and that's got to be a big confidence booster for the Hoosiers, a team that really needed a jolt offensively. Let's see if that one can be that spark.
We're hearing it's 479 feet off the bat, 109 miles an hour, as Tibbetts lines that one foul. That's a big 3-run shot for Indiana, 479.
And he hit one earlier this year that was 464, and 479, that one was more towards center field. That's why it's got a little bit of a longer distance. Maybe not as impressive, like from the viewer's perspective, it wasn't as far away from the stadium. It wasn't as far over the fence. But I'm still waiting for the day when he pulls one so far it lands in Indy Moore Field.
I was going to say, that's where IU softball plays their games. You got to worry. The good thing is they're away this weekend. They're currently in Ann Arbor finishing their series. I'm worried about one of those cars out there, man. I mean, he's got some real raw talent, some real pop as well. Big 3-run shot. Kind of that shot in the arm that Indiana has needed all series long. You saw Matheson go yard on Friday. But it feels like that's allowed. It's this Indiana crowd, which has definitely come out and shown some support for their Hoosiers. It's really the loudest they've been all series. Now Tibbetts down 1-2 to Savakul, swing and a miss. And that will do it for the bottom of the third, but not before Indiana gets back in the ball game. They get 3 runs on 2 hits. The big blow from Devin Taylor, due up with Kevin Keister, the second baseman, leading things off against Ryan Kraft. There's a righty warming up in the Indiana bullpen. That's Craig Yoho out there. Kraft is pitch count in decent shape. We've seen he's thrown over 90 pitches his last time out against Ohio. That was all out of the bullpen.
Difference, though, these have been some labored pitches. A lot of runners on base against Kraft so far.
There's a line drive, base hit into left field from Keister. That'll be another extra base hit as he will make his way into second with a leadoff double. Already Maryland with 3 doubles in this ball game. And Keister, the 9-man, it just shows you the depth in this order, Zach.
And this will be interesting. Just got back into the game. Potentially a swing of momentum in favor of Indiana. We'll see if head coach Jeff Mercer, he's on the top step right now in the dugout down that third base line. We'll see how long of a leash he gives to Kraft here with 2 right-handed hitters on deck.
Lineup flips over, and Luke Schliger, the catcher, takes the first one off the shoulder. First pitch gets away from Kraft, a hit by pitch, and the catcher is now on for the first time today. First and second, nobody out, and all eyes still here on Jeff Mercer.
And he's mentioned a couple of times this year that maybe he's been a little bit slower than he wanted to head to the bullpen. The first one that comes to mind is Ball State when Ben Seiler left him in for maybe 1 or 2 pitches too long, and it ended up being a 4-run inning for the Cardinals.
And in is Craig Yoho, Indiana right-hander, who's got some nasty stuff. First pitch, he throws to Matt Shaw's in there for a called strike.
13th appearance of the year for Yoho. He's got a 2.31 ERA, 1.3 WHIP. He's 4-1 on the season and 23 1/3 innings of work.
There's that nasty stuff I was talking about. Took some off that one, 73 miles an hour on that curveball, and Shaw went fishing. He's down on the count, 0-2. Nobody out here in the fourth. 4-3 lead for Maryland. 0-2, called strike 3. Right down the middle. Shaw was not expecting that pitch, and Yoho dials it up to 94 for his first strikeout on the afternoon.
A 3-pitch strikeout, and Yoho is a strikeout guy. That's his 42nd strikeout on the year, and now 23 2/3 innings of work. He's got great stuff that can bend, and he's got that 94-mile-per-hour fastball as well that can really mix things up and give troubles to hitters.
Now it's Nick LaRusso, the DH, 0 for 1 with a walk and a run back in the last inning. Now 4 or 5 pitches that Yoho has thrown have been for strikes. Yoho, a redshirt junior, did not play in 2022 due to injury, and neither did he pitch in his sophomore season. And he pitched in just 1 game in the 2020 season before that was wiped out due to COVID.
Been a guy that's really had to deal with everything you can think of, transitioning even from a hitter to a pitcher, everything.
And his career at Houston, as there's a base hit into right field in front of Taylor by LaRusso. Running around third is Keister. The throw home is not in time. It's an insurance run for Maryland here in the 4th inning, as they're now out to a 5-3 lead as Nick LaRusso with an RBI single to right.
Of course, that run will be credited to Ryan Kraft, and that's a tough play out there for Devin Taylor because he started to charge to look like he might be able to make the catch, but then he had to pull up and lost all momentum on any potential throw towards home plate.
And a 5-3 lead for Maryland. Already their 8th hit of the ball game. So Kraft currently, his final line sits at 3+ innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Still responsible for the runner on second, that's Luke Schliger. Petrutz fouls that one off of his foot.
This is a big inning, an important inning for Maryland to try and recapture that momentum. Devin Taylor a massive 479-foot 3-run homer to get Indiana back into this one. You could sense maybe a little bit of momentum shifting, but then answering right back with another run and potentially more here in the 4th for Maryland.
Curveball just misses from Yoho, so it's now 2-1 on Petrutz. Yoho hasn't pitched in a few weeks. Last time out was against Louisville, against the Cardinals. Pitched 2 clean innings, giving up just 1 hit. Struck out 4. It was very impressive. That was one of Indiana's, it may be, if not their best win of the season against a team that was number 10 in the RPI at that point. Of course, it's Maryland, the team that, as the runner is going from second, swinging a miss, throw to third. They got him. They cut down Schliger on the bases. A strong throw from Ceruto to Pine, and that will do it for the top of the 4th inning. Maryland does add another run. They do it on 2 hits, but they leave 1 man left on base, and the lead is 5-3 as we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. We'll take a break here on Big Ten Plus.
To those umpires.
That play definitely not as close as the one yesterday as Carter Matheson digs in and takes a ball. Next pitch misses low. That was Savacool's 50th pitch. We mentioned that this season, the minimum number of pitches that he's thrown is 93. And now Matheson up 3-0. Maryland 6-4 this season in games that Savacool starts, as there's a strike on the lower half right at the knees. Matheson takes a check back to Jason Stidham.
He had the red light there, 3-0 though, so this is an important pitch.
3-1, another low strike. Savacool done a good job. Down 3-0, now it's 3-2. Here comes the full count pitch. Swung on and missed.
For Indiana trying to avoid the sweep, but this one especially trying to respond after giving up 1 run.
Pine chops that one on the ground to short. Shaw is there, the throw across. Quickly 2 up, 2 down, as now Savacool has now 3 strikeouts in this game after retiring Matheson and gets Pine to ground out. That was a common theme yesterday.
In a situation where you are trying to get to that Maryland bullpen, you haven't had success doing that all series long. You have to take some pitches, or at least if you're going to swing 1-0, you have to do some damage. You can't ground it into the dirt. Or turf, I should say, I guess.
Now it's Tyler Cerny, 0 for 1, grounded into a fielder's choice to end the second. Now it's 1-1 on the freshman. Cerny won Big Ten Freshman of the Week earlier this season, number 2 shortstop and number 8 overall prospect in Indiana by perfect game. Part of really this youth movement from Indiana, and we talked with Jeff Mercer about it and the way he has kind of built his, his recruiting is basically kind of really an imitation of what Rob Vaughn has done with Maryland. It's a Maryland team that really for the past few years has been on top of the Big Ten, and there is a quick strikeout, called strike 3 for the Maryland Terrapins. They've scored 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. Indiana got 3 in the third off of the bat of Devin Taylor. Now it's Eddie Hakopian who digs in and chops the first pitch foul towards the Indiana dugout. The Big Ten Player of the Week, working on now a 12-game hitting streak. He's 2 for 2 in this one. There's a strike from Craig Yoho.
Kind of a different mindset today for Indiana with Yoho on the mound, trying to preserve this 2-run deficit, not allow Maryland to extend it any further.
There's another called strike 3 from Craig Yoho. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to the Big Ten Player of the Week. That's Yoho's 3rd strikeout already in his outing. And now Matt Woods, the right fielder, will step up to bat.
Devin Taylor, we saw hit a 3-run homer today. Those are the guys you want up with runners in scoring position.
0-1 to Jesse, who walked in the 3rd.
Think that foul tip got a piece of Schliger behind the plate.
He got hit by a pitch earlier in this game. Really shows you that got to be tough to be a catcher back there, especially now later on in the season. We're here in last day in April. Big Ten tournament just about a month away in Omaha. You could very well see these two teams make deep runs. Jesse sends that one the other way. If it's fair ball, it's trouble. It is, and it goes into the corner. Ceruto hustling around 3rd. He will stop there, and it is a double for Jesse. As now it's 2nd and 3rd for Indiana as the lineup card flips over to Philip Glasser.
You need a big inning here.
2nd and 3rd, good start for the Hoosiers here, and they have everything set up for Glasser, who fouls the first pitch off. To the left side will be a souvenir for somebody, and they'll have the opportunity to exchange it for a soft drink, as per protocol here at Bart Kaufman Field. Glasser's 1 for 2 in this game. Action in both bullpens. 0-1, misses low. Savakul was rated the number 2 pitcher and player in New York and number 19 right-handed pitcher in the nation by Perfect Game. 1-1. Misses low. No swing, says the 3rd base umpire, John Coons.
This is an Indiana team and an Indiana offense that's been relatively lifeless this series, and this is a big moment to try and inject some life.
2-1 misses outside. Do have an open base for Glasser. But you don't want to load the bases with nobody out if you're Savakul. It's a Maryland team this season. When leading after 4 innings, they're 21-2. And when they lead after 5, they're even better. They're 23-1. Savakul takes a deep breath. 3-1 home. And his grounded foul. It looked like Glasser might have hit that one twice, as a matter of fact.
Big swing there from Glasser. 3-1. He has that green light. He's looking for a pitch in his spot. He got a breaking ball at 81 miles an hour, and he swung for the fences, a swing that tried to tie this one up.
Indiana got their 3 runs off of a Devin Taylor homer. Back in the 3rd, Glasser lines that one. A nice catch made over at first base by Hakopian, the reigning Big Ten Player of the Week, as Ceruto and Jesse have to stay put at 2nd and 3rd respectively.
A double play on a play similar to that earlier in this one.
That was from Devin Taylor. First pitch, Whalen sees. He sends it out to right field. Woods is there, makes the catch. Both runners will tag, and it'll be a sac fly for Bobby Whalen. RBI number 27.
In this one, but if you're Jason Savakul and the Terrapins, you had bases loaded, no out, and only 1 run across to show for it. And now you've got 2 outs, a chance to get out of the inning with only allowing 1 run.
Here is the most dangerous hitter for Indiana in Taylor. We mentioned 479-foot home run back in the 3rd. A home run would tie the game here. 2-0.
I mentioned it earlier in this one. He was having trouble seeing the ball out of the hand through the first 2 games of this one. We saw a lot of half swings, a lot of check swings, a lot of swinging over the top of breaking balls in the dirt.
Big hole in the left side, 2-0. There's a strike. It's a Maryland team that when their opponent hits 1 home run, they're an impressive 12-4, but when the opponent hits 2 or more home runs, they drop to 7-11.
Taylor's looking for a fastball that he can turn on and drive to right center field. That's where he's got the power alley. That's where he's got his power.
Outfielders playing very deep, and there is a low strike. And now it'll be a full count here.
Should also note Taylor shifted on the infield. 3 Maryland defenders on the right side of second base.
Big full count pitch here to the freshman Taylor. A swing and a fly ball out to left center field. He's done it again. Off the scoreboard for Devin Taylor, his second of the game, and Indiana has tied this one at 6.
I mentioned Austin. His power is to center field, right field. Off the scoreboard, and just like that, Austin, we've got a tie game, and Devin Taylor trying to inject some life into this Indiana offense.
Now, 2 home runs for him today. That one, a mild 416 feet, not as good as 479, but still off the scoreboard, 110 miles an hour off of the bat of the freshman. As you mentioned, inserts some much-needed life into this Indiana offense, which this series has been really cold after this season. On Sundays, they've had some really good offensive showings.
And even bigger, this now pretty much restarts the game. You've got Savacool with 81 pitches, and then you've got to try and get into that Maryland bullpen, and when it comes down to it, you've got the Indiana bullpen versus the Maryland bullpen. I think Jeff Mercer is confident in his bullpen. He's got Connor Foley warming up out there right now.
2-2 misses low and away. Now, full count here as Savacool's pitch count up to 83. Full count. Delivery is low to Brock Tibbetts. That's a 2-out walk for the Indiana first baseman. And now we'll look over to Rob Vaughn to see if he wants to make a move here.
Really deep into a lot of games, 90-plus pitches in every start, and he's only at 84. Barring any more base runners, he could probably get at least this next out and potentially head in to the next inning as well for Maryland.
His nickname, according to the team, is the Doctor. It looked like his lab report was going to be pretty good through the first few innings, but when he faces Devin Taylor, it's a much different story. Check back at first.
Gotta remember, Devin Taylor, just a freshman, and he's doing all this for Indiana.
Impressive.
Reminiscent of what Carter Matheson did, at least in the power department, a season ago.
Number 2 overall prospect in Ohio, looking like it right now. Now it's 2-0 here on Matheson. You could tell that Savacool laboring a bit as he'll take some time, grab the rosin bag. He's gotten behind some of these Indiana hitters.
There was something that had troubled Savacool so far this year. He'd given up 11 home runs coming into this one. Now he's given up 2 today.
Savacool came into this game. He'd given up home runs in each of the past 5 outings. Now he's given up homers 12 and 13 this season.
Typically doesn't give up a lot of extra base hits. He's only given up 7 doubles now in the year, 13 home runs, 20 extra base hits total. So just a third of the hits he's allowed have been for extra base hits.
2 into Matheson. Tibbetts off of first. There's a swing and a drive out to right field. Does it have enough? No, it does not, but it's off the wall. Woods can't make the play. Hustling around third is Tibbetts. Matheson will stop at second base, and Indiana, for the first time this series, has the lead.
For the first time this series, Austin, it feels like Indiana has some life, not only in the dugout, but inside of Bart Coppin Field as well. The Hoosiers, and you got to thank Devin Taylor for it if you're Indiana. Some spark, some life inside that dugout.
Hoosier lineup, which has been the backbone of their team for several years now. There's a strike to Pine, who's the 8th hitter to come to bat here for the Hoosiers in this inning. They already have 4 runs on the board. They lead 7-6. They trailed 4-0 in this game. It looked like they were lifeless. But Devin Taylor and now Carter Matheson with that double have given Indiana that shot in the arm that they have been looking for all weekend long. they win this game, they'd be tied with Maryland at 10-5. It's a crowded top of the Big Ten standings. Half the league is over 500 coming into this Sunday. Indiana tied with Michigan State at 9-5. Michigan a half game behind at 9-6. Purdue looking at 10-7 as Pine shoots that ball into center field, and that will do it for the inning as Lambros makes the catch, but not before the damage is done. Indiana takes the lead. They get 4 runs. Had 8 hitters come to the plate in the bottom of the 5th inning, scored 4 runs off of 4 hits. First pitch to Matt Shaw. Should say Luke Schliger, the catcher and the leadoff man, is just inside from Craig Yoho. Second pitch swung on and hit in the air. High fly ball out to left center, but Whalen is there. 1 out.
And one important thing to keep an eye on. We are through now 5 complete innings. We're starting to see some dark clouds kind of take over the sky here at Bart Kaufman Field. Just something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. There was definitely weather in the forecast for today. Had a noon start. There you can see the skies out to left. Not looking very pretty. And it is of the utmost importance that Indiana got those runs in the 5th after the game was halfway through, which meant it was official. 0-1 to Shaw, swung on and hit it in the air out to right center field. Whalen back again to the track. It's out of here. It's a home run derby here at Bart Kaufman Field as Matt Shaw, the shortstop, gets a hold of one. And just like that, Maryland ties the game back up at 7. Home run number 18 for Shaw. That leads the Big Ten.
Looks like Bobby Whalen a little slow to get up out there in center field for Indiana. And we mentioned it a couple times earlier in this one that Rob Vaughn noted to us that no lead is safe in this one against the Indiana lineup. The same can be said on the flip side as well. No lead is safe against a lineup like the Terrapins.
Now it looks like the rain is starting to come down as we're seeing fans to our left go for some cover. Many with ponchos and hoods starting to protect themselves. So the next pitch is swung on, and that's over Pine into left field. That'll be an extra base hit for LaRusso. He'll make the turnaround first and head into second standing up. It's back-to-back extra base hits for the Terrapins, and they continue. Whenever Indiana feels like has momentum, they continue to just score runs and get hits.
Now 5 consecutive innings. Maryland has scored at least 1 run, dating back to the 2nd inning, and the depth of this Indiana bullpen is going to come into question now. You still got Connor Foley. It looks like Connor Foley might be the next pitcher in here for Indiana as Jeff Mercer heads out to talk to Craig Yoho. But other than that, there's not really many high-leverage guys left in that Indiana bullpen. We've seen Ethan Phillips in this series. We've seen Braden Reisdorf. We've seen Ryan Kraft. Yeah, earlier this season, Jeff Mercer noted that player development and recruiting are 2 of the most important things for building a winning program. He noted that recruiting is the bloodline of the program, and player development is that driving force, that back line of a good baseball program. And we've seen countless freshmen, sophomores, underclassmen come up big for Indiana in big spots this year.
So Foley now into the game, and the left fielder Ian Petrutz, 1 for 3 in this game. He fouls that pitch back.
Connor Foley, another one of those freshmen who's been fantastic this year for Indiana. A state champion, a former state champion at Jasper High School.
0-1. They say that Petrutz did go around 93 miles an hour. Another guy that can touch the low 90s with his velocity. Last time out against Ball State 5 days ago in the 9-8 victory. 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, no runs, no hits. 0-2. Fouled straight back from Petrutz, who does not wear batting gloves.
You mentioned that outing against Ball State. That was just Foley's 2nd career save. A 6-out save is your 2nd career save just 4 days after your 1st career save, which came against Ohio.
That was in another 9-8 game, so the last 2 times he has pitched, the final score has been 9-8. Could very well be on track for that in this game. 0-2 misses down and away.
You see a point and a head nod there from Peter Cerruto behind the plate. He liked that pitch from Foley. It's just with a talented lineup and a talented hitter like Petrutz, you can't always get him to chase.
Now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Runner still off of second. That is high. Gets past the glove of Cerruto. And LaRusso will head over to third base. Should be a wild pitch. Cerruto did get his glove on it. It's one of those waste pitches where you got to at least give Ceruto a shot, and he frustratingly kind of pounds his fist into his glove, thinking maybe he should have had it. We'll see how they rule that. It is indeed a wild pitch. So now, runner on third, less than 2 outs. Situation here for Petrutz to give Maryland the lead, and that is not going to do it. He pops it up into foul territory, and he'll come back, but Josh Pine is there. An unproductive out, 94 miles an hour, a big out from Foley, and there are 2 down here in the visiting half of the 6th.
This is a big inning. You have to strand that runner at third if you're Connor Foley. A big at-bat here for Eddie Hakopian. You mentioned earlier, Big Ten Player of the Week. He's done it all, batting .343 with 6 home runs. He's a fantastic hitter. Can he get that go-ahead run in from third base?
Would be big. First pitch, outside corner, 94 miles an hour from Foley for strike 1 against Hakopian. As we mentioned, he's 2 for 3 in this game. Struck out looking to Yoho, whose final line, 2 1/3 innings, 4 hits, still responsible for the runner on third, 5 strikeouts. Did hit a batter as well. A one up and in. Ceruto looks back LaRusso.
Jeff Mercer's mentioned the important thing, the key thing for Foley and his success is working that off-speed pitch around that 94-mile-an-hour fastball. The fastball has a lot of life to it. It's got a lot of natural movement. At 94 miles an hour, it gets in on you quickly. It's about that off-speed stuff for Foley.
1-1 from Connor. Spiked it low, but a good stop from Ceruto. Like a cat back there. Important stop. Count still 2-1 on Hakopian. Matt Woods waits on deck. 7-7 game. Maryland led 4-0. Indiana trimmed it to 4-3 with a home run from Devin Taylor. Maryland added another 2 as they led 6-3, and then 4 runs for Indiana in the bottom of the 5th. Another home run, this time a 2-run shot from Taylor. Indiana added another, but Maryland has responded with one of their own in the 6th. It's a 7-7 game as there's a check swing. Foul, first base side.
And it is also a good sight for Indiana that Connor Foley is working 93, 94 miles an hour. A couple of times this season he's been down 89, 90 miles an hour, and he's gotten hit pretty hard in those situations.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Runner off of third, here it comes from Foley. Just missed. And the count is now full on the first baseman, Eddie Hakopian. Cypress College transfer in Anaheim, California suburb. He hit .387 with 23 RBIs and 11 stolen bases. And he works ball 4. So another count that maybe got out of hands of Foley.
You give up a walk to a guy who's a very dangerous hitter, like I mentioned. You mentioned earlier, Big Ten Player of the Week, batting .337 coming into this one. You walk him, you avoid that really talented bat, and now you walk him to a guy who's hitting .292, just as good, if not better, who's having a great series.
First pitch to Matt Woods is swung on and hit in the air. Another time to center field. Whalen has been busy over there, but this time he has enough room to make the catch and retire the side in the 6th inning. Maryland add another run, a solo shot from Matt Shaw, the star shortstop. And we have a 7-7 game as we enter the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's we're trying to get this one in with inclement weather incoming. We'll be back in a moment here on Big Ten Plus. A year ago, career 11-4 with the Big Red, 3.14 ERA. So he will face Tyler Cerny, and we are back underway here as Cerny squares to bunt it, but then pulls it back for strike number 1. 7-7 game. Sun is back out, which is a great thing, and Cerny a big swing and a miss, and he's quickly down 0-2. Littman last year was fantastic, 7-1, a sub-2 ERA, 98 strikeouts and 63 1/3 innings pitched. And there is his first strikeout today. Is good morning, good afternoon, and good night to Tyler Cerny. He's down on strikes for the 2nd time today, and there's one out here on the bottom of the 6th.
It's got some break to it, but it's got a lot of late break. It kind of looks like a fastball out of the hand, and it's got that late break that breaks away from those right-handed hitters.
There's a ball outside to Peter Ceruto, 1 for 2 of the runs scored. Lippman comes into this game a 4.41 ERA, 4-0 this season. This is his 20th appearance. It does have a save. 32 2/3 innings pitched, 31 strikeouts to 11 walks. It's just about a strikeout an inning. It's a Maryland team that, as a pitching staff, averages just about a strikeout an inning, 8.25 in 9 innings, and that is a strike to Ceruto. The big 6'4", fifth-year pitcher delivers, and Ceruto chops it foul.
We'll see if that long extended break had any effect on any of these two teams. So far, looks like the Maryland Terrapins, at least from a pitching standpoint, have come back firing on all cylinders so far. It's still early.
Still plenty of game left. Over a third of this game remaining, and that's assuming the game does indeed finish in 9 innings. Now the count is full.
The weather does look like it's cleared up. Looks like we should be clear for takeoff.
3-2 pitch. Called strike 3. Ceruto not a fan of the call, but Jason Stidham punches him out. He already dropped his bat, getting ready to go to first base as Schliger applies the tag after that ball popped out of his glove. And here's the look again. I think what Ceruto's probably more disappointed about is the fact that it feels like when the catcher drops the ball, the umpire doesn't have a good location of where it really was, but he was convinced it was strike 3, and now with 2 outs, Hunter Jesse will bat.
The important thing here for the Hoosiers is that they turn the lineup over. So you've got Hunter Jesse up to the plate right now. That means whether he gets out or on base, Philip Glasser on deck to potentially lead off the next inning.
Swing and a miss from Jesse. That was kind of a half-hearted swing at 91 miles an hour, so he's down in the count 0-2. Defense still the same in the other 8 positions for Maryland. And the Indiana lineup looks the same right now with Glasser waiting on deck. Should Jesse get on, and he will see another pitch. That one at 91 upstairs.
Jesse and the bottom of the lineup as a whole have really done a good job of turning the lineup over.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. The pitch misses low.
Seen it all year long. The Hoosiers are great with 2 outs. They really like to shorten up their approach, really just slap the ball the opposite way if they get the chance and just try and get on base any way they can and extend innings.
They definitely have had some time to look through the scouting reports for the Maryland relievers. You had a feeling that Savakul, who threw the least amount of pitches this year as Jesse works a walk. His final line, 5 innings, 7 hits, 7 runs all earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, so not his best outing.
I believe we're getting word that last pitch hit Hunter Jesse.
Good job. Charades from the people just to the left in the press box giving us the information, and we definitely, we're on top of it. 1-0 to Glasser. Lippman comes from an athletic family. His dad played baseball and golf at Harvard, and his mom played tennis at Louisiana Tech. There's a strike to Glasser. In his 5th season of college ball, just like Philip Glasser. So 2 experienced guys going at it here with 2 outs in the 6th. 1-1 is outside.
Seen a couple of times earlier this game, Philip Glasser has pulled the ball on the ground to that right side of the infield. 1 for a base hit, and the other time that he's pulled it that side, it was caught on a diving play by first baseman Hakopian.
2 middle infielders are shaded closer up the middle, so there's room with both gaps in the infield.
Especially with Jesse being held on over there at first.
2 down, 3 balls and a strike to Glasser. 7-7 game. We're resuming things here in the bottom of the 6th after a lengthy rain delay. Should say thunder delay, or lightning. That was the real reason why the game was in a delay, as another walk, this time for Philip Glasser.
Devin Taylor come up to the plate with anybody on base. He doesn't need to come up to the plate at all if you're Maryland. He already has 2 home runs on the day, so he's got to attack Bobby Whalen.
He does there and pulls the string 81 miles an hour. Whalen swings on top of it. Bobby today is 0 for 1, a walk and a sac fly. Runners off of first and second. Well, they throw back to first. A bang-bang play, but Glasser gets back. A sneaky throw from Littman over to Hakopian at first. Boy, that's the last thing you wanted is Glasser to get picked off as the trail runner. Oh and 1. Littman taking his time. Comes home. Another swing and a miss. Threw the same pitch and basically got the same result. And now he's ahead of Bobby Whalen, 0-2.
You saw those two lefties, Hunter Jesse and Philip Glasser, were able to get on and work walks. Pretty effective against righties is Littman with that slider that breaks away from right-handed hitters.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. Fouled straight back.
That one just didn't have as much break as the first one or the one earlier in this at-bat. Kind of just stayed in that zone.
A good chunk of the fans have made their way back to the seats after being asked to take cover during that delay. We'll see an 0-2 again, outside 1-2.
We'll see if Littman, he's worked for now 3 consecutive pitches, that slider low and away to Whalen. We'll see if he tries to come in with a hard fastball or sticks away.
1-2 upstairs. I mentioned how Littman is a transfer, as is Bobby Whalen, transferred from Louisville, Pennsylvania native. Hitting .287 this season. So number 2 man in the lineup behind Glasser and in front of Devin Taylor, who waits on deck. He's got 2 home runs in this game, had a 3-run shot in the 3rd to right center, and then hit one off the scoreboard in left in the 5th, which tied the game at 6. Whalen just gets a piece.
Now that's back-to-back fastballs there from Littman, so he's really set up Whalen for another slider low and away here. We'll see if he goes back to that or sticks with another fastball up.
Littman's last time out was a week ago against Purdue. Pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 run, got the win in the 10-8 win over the Boilermakers. And Whalen has done a good job working the count from 0-2 all the way back to full, and that will release both the base runners with Jesse off of second and Glasser off of first. This will be an important full count pitch. Littman gets the sign. Here it comes. Swing and a miss. He got Whalen to chase on 3 pitches during the at-bat, and Indiana strands 2 runners as we're back underway here at Barkhoffman Field. A 7-7 ball game as we head to the top of the 7th inning. Should be a good final few innings, so don't go anywhere here on Big Ten Plus. Very big wins, 13-2 and 16-2 respectively. Connor Foley's back out there on the mound. He threw 12 pitches before that break, and his 13th now of the game is in there for a strike against Elijah Lambros. And he bounces the second one.
See how Foley reacts. It was a 53-minute rain delay. And it's been, you would have to figure, about an hour and 20 minutes since he last threw a pitch. So
right.
Had to have tried to stay warm somehow during that delay.
Maybe grab something to eat. Make sure the arm is loose and ready to go. Foley has not given up a run since April the 7th, and Indiana's lost to Iowa. Pitched an inning and gave up a run to the Hawkeyes. Before this series, that was the only home loss for the Hoosiers this season. Of course, they dropped the first 2 games in this series. Still very impressive here at Barkhoffman Field this year. 22-3. There's a 5-pitch walk issued to Lambros, who has been on base all 4 times today. 2 walks, a single, and a homer.
You mentioned Will Foley's struggle after that long rain delay. Brooks I is out in the Indiana bullpen warming up in case Foley gets into a little bit of trouble here.
So now it's Jacob Orr, the 3rd baseman, has a 4-game hit streak. Check back to first on Lambros. Elijah 2 for 3 on the base pass this year. Scoring to bunt and pulls it back as Ceruto couldn't squeeze it. It was inside either way, and the count is 1-0.
We've seen a couple of times today that Maryland has squared around a bunt. We saw it led to a run earlier in this one. Not afraid to play small ball despite leading the Big Ten in pretty much every extra base hitting category.
1-0 to Orr. He squares around again, pulls it back, misses upstairs. Now we're going to see a mound visit here as
Kyle McCoy and Nick Dean were fantastic in games 1 and 2 for Maryland, which is a large part for why the Indian offense has been relatively quiet, of course, before this game.
Another check back at first. I've seen 4 home runs in this game, 2 by each side. Devin Taylor has the 2 homers for Indiana. We mentioned Lambros has 1 for the Terrapins, as does Matt Shaw. And there's a strike, and now the count 2-2.
One thing to note with Foley, that one was at 93 miles an hour, that fastball, so still keeping up with that velocity. Jeff Mercer noted it's important for him to be in that 93 to 95 range.
Squares around a bunt again. Dribbles it foul. Now the count is 2-2.
I'm assuming at the plate, or will probably be swinging away here. Don't want to foul off a bunt attempt.
Big hole in the left side of the infield. Glasser and Cerny stationed more up the middle in double play position. Two-two. Up and in. We'll see another full count pitch here.
I would assume if Connor Foley walks Orr here, that might bring his outing to an end. Brookside, like I mentioned, warming in that Indiana bullpen.
Full count. Fouled over our heads. Pretty loud racket. Looks like everyone's okay. It'll be a souvenir for somebody. Foley came into today 22 strikeouts to 10 walks and 15 2/3 innings pitched, and he checks back over at first base. There is no limit as to the number of disengagements you can have in college baseball. Of course, the new MLB rules trying to speed up the pace of play. There is a pitch clock, but it is not visible here at Bart Kaufman Field. The third base umpire, who today is John Coons, has the stopwatch in his hand, and he's the one in charge. So if you're Foley on the mound, you've got to count in your head. 3-2 pitch, just missed. So back-to-back walks to start the 7th inning for Maryland. We talked about for Foley as a freshman in this situation, it's not that easy, and we're going to see that's most likely the last pitch he's going to throw. Zach, it can't be easy for him to have to wait. We mentioned probably over an hour since he last threw a pitch and then come out and try and do it all over again, and we're starting to see why as he lost the 7 and 8 hitters in this Terps lineup. Junior right-hander, 6'2", 205 pounds. This season, ERA hovering right under 8, 20 1/3 innings pitched. And with first and second, the first pitch will not be to home plate. It'll be back to second base to check on Lambros. He's at second. Jacob Orr, the third baseman, is at first.
And Brookeside's an interesting guy. He's started as of late for Indiana, but he started the year out of the bullpen.
Expecting a bunt from the 9-man Kevin Keister, and he looks at strike 1 on the outer half.
You can definitely tell from this move that Jeff Mercer trusts him in a situation like this. A very important inning here. Nobody out 2 on, and you're in the 7th inning in a tie game trying to avoid a sweep. Very high leverage situation here for I.
The bunt is laid down. It's a good one. Pine, the third baseman, will charge. Throws over to Cerny covering first. That's 5-4 in the book at home, but it is a sacrifice successful for Keister as Lambros and Orr both move up 90 feet, and now the table is set for Luke Schliger, the catcher.
Perfect bunt there on that one from Keister.
Luke Schliger digs in. 0 for 3 was hit by a pitch back in the 4th inning. First pitch is outside, and for the 3rd time today, we are back underway here at Bart Kaufman Field. Schliger does have a homer this weekend, 3 runs batted in. Was caught stealing to end the 4th inning. That was a strike him out, throw him out when Craig Yoho was on the mound. Check back at second base.
There is action in the Indiana bullpen if Brooks I can't figure it out.
Big hole in the left side. Infield playing not quite in all the way, but definitely not as deep as usual. And there's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Maryland led this game 4-0. Indiana got back into it with a Devin Taylor 3-run shot in the 3rd. He had another home run in the 5th to tie the game. At that point, it was 6-6. Indiana briefly took the lead, a Carter Matheson double. And then Matt Shaw homered to center field to make it 7-7. That's been the scoreline even between both rain delays, so we haven't had runs in a while. Two-1 to the catcher. Lined up the middle over the leaping try of Glasser. That will score 1 run. That should score 2 runs. And Maryland has the lead. A big 1-out hit from Luke Schliger. And Maryland, out of the rain delay, jumps back on top of the Hoosiers. It's now 9-7.
Good piece of hitting, just going right back up the middle from Schliger. He stands so close to the plate, almost on top of the plate. He has to choke up on the bat a little bit. He's able to just, he kind of gets jammed a little bit, but is able to muscle it out up over the head of Philip Glasser. A big 2 RBI hit. And the Terps, they had the lead once again, Platt.
RBIs 42 and 43 this season. Just misses outside. So Schliger off at first. He's got 5 RBIs in this series now. Matt Shaw fouls it straight back. Shaw 2 for 4, a home run in the last inning, which feels like a year ago to this point, and a single in the 3rd, so he scored twice. Check back at first. Shaw wears number 6 because his older brother wore the same number. You talk about a 5-tool player. His sports hero is Mike Trout, one of the usual 5-tool players we think of in the majors.
It's a pretty good favorite player to have.
Yeah, I would say. If only he could ever stay healthy for a full season.
Maybe get some help.
2-1. There's a strike.
It's important here, the top of the order for Brooks I. He's got to try and find a way, once again, to limit the damage. You can't go down too much to this Maryland team, especially with some high-leverage guys still in that Maryland bullpen.
Full count again.
Sort of the same story of what we saw with Connor Foley. Just unable to really find the strike zone consistently. Here is Brooks I.
We talk about how young this Indiana team is, of course. For many of these guys, we mentioned that Foley's a freshman. I a junior, a Fordham transfers, first year on the IU staff. Full count again, that's inside. The 3rd walk issued this inning by Indiana pitching. The 1st by I, and now it's 1st and 2nd for Nick LaRusso, the DH. Now has a 10-game hitting streak and has been swinging the bat quite well this series. He is 6 for 7. Averages up to 370 on the season. First pitch to him, in there for a strike.
2 arms warming in the Indiana bullpen. I believe it's Ty Bothwell and Adrian Vega down in that Indiana bullpen, both a righty and a lefty.
A 1 fouled straight back.
A lefty and Ian Petrutz on deck for Maryland. So you could potentially see Bothwell with a lefty-righty-lefty do up after LaRusso.
0-2 to LaRusso. Swing and a miss. Tipped into the glove. Ceruto holds on. That's a big second out here in the 7th.
Of course, I'm talking about the bullpen, but Brookside getting it done on the mound himself, trying to fight and stay in the game and get these last 2 outs. Now just the last out for Indiana. That's a good 3-pitch strikeout.
It's actually Ben Seiler, the lefty out there for Indiana, 42.
Once again, my vision lets me down.
It's tough out here. Petrutz takes a strike. Nine-7 ball game. Maryland looking to complete a 3-game sweep over the Hoosiers. There's a pitch that's inside. We talked with Maryland head coach Rob Vaughn, who's now in his 6th season, Kansas State grad. He's the youngest coach in Power 5, was also an assistant with Kansas State after he graduated, and also with Maryland. Now in his 6th year as the full-time head coach. 1-1. Oh, what a catch by Philip Glasser. Robbing what would have been a run-scoring base hit for Petrutz, and that retires the side here in the top of the 7th inning. But not before Maryland takes the lead. They get 2 runs, and now finally it's time to get up and stretch. He will face the red-hot Devin Taylor. 2 home runs in this game. He's got 5 of Indiana's 7 runs batted in this game. First pitch he takes is low.
Falco's a righty. 25 2/3 innings of work. He's got close to a 6 ERA at 5.96.
Taylor takes a pitch inside.
This is his 19th appearance of the year, Falco. In his last 2 outings against Purdue on the 21st and 23rd of April, he gave up 5 runs in 4 innings across those 2 outings.
Big swing, and he fouls it off the catcher and kicks towards the on-deck hitter, Brock Tibbetts.
But I will say, prior to those 2 outings against Purdue, he had 5 straight appearances where he didn't allow an earned run, and only allowed 1 earned run in a stretch of 8 games from the 28th of March to the 19th of April.
It's been impressive. Last year was definitely his best year with the Terrapins. Had a sub-3 ERA, 7-1 in just under 20 appearances. Believe it or not, he was offered a free agent contract with the Atlanta Braves in June of 2019. 3-time New York sectional champ. 2-2 inside.
Interesting decision not to take it.
Well, there's of course, Peter Ceruto had the same thing for the Hoosiers, was actually drafted, believe it or not. Taylor fouls it back.
You mentioned drafted back in the 22nd round in 2018 out of high school by the Cincinnati Reds.
Of course, now the draft is only 20 rounds. That was when it was 40. 3-2. Called strike 3 on the inside half. A big backwards K recorded by Falco to get Indiana's hottest hitter today. First pitch to Tibbetts is a ball. What's so impressive about Taylor is that he doesn't usually strike out. That's just his 30th strikeout this year, and he came into this game 2nd on the team with 26 walks. Here's a chopper to short. Charging is Shaw, and he makes the play. 2 up, 2 down here in the home half of the 7th.
This is the issue, though, for Indiana after really getting dominated by Maryland starters in the first 2 games of this series. The Terrapins didn't have to use any of their high leverage arms out of the bullpen, and now we've seen them. We saw Lippman, and now with Falco, the high leverage arms. There's not many of them, but the ones that are there, very talented for the Terrapins, and the Hoosiers are seeing that right now.
Matheson at the plate. Hit an RBI double to briefly give Indiana a lead. That was in the 5th inning. But Maryland didn't score in the first for the first time this series. Scored in the 2nd every inning to this point, and they put up 2 in the top half of the 7th inning. previous 2 games this series, there was a blow-up inning where they batted around and really took control. But in this game, they've spread the wealth across the innings and have really given Indiana whatever momentum they've had. They just snatched it right back. 2-0. Ground ball, past the shift. He beats it, and it gets into right center field. Matheson hustling out of the box, going for second, and he slides in safely, overslides the base, but will put that right foot back on the bag. It's a 2-out hustle double for Carter Matheson, and that will make way for Josh Pine, who's trying to extend his 12-game hitting streak.
Good piece of hitting right there from Carter Matheson, just to ground it through the shift, sort of a seeing eye base hit, and then out of the box. That's great hustle in a situation where you're down 2 late in the game. You need base runners, and you need base runners in scoring position. That's great hustle out of the box. He had a double in mind from the moment he made contact.
Especially with the turf, and now it being a bit wet, it'll skid a bit more and kind of get out to the outfield much quicker. Woods did a good job getting the ball in from right as soon as he possibly could, but Matheson, as you mentioned, yeah, double on his mind the entire time. Gets an extra base hit. His 11th double of the season. Now here's Josh Pine. Matheson off of first. 2 outs. Indiana down by 2. Pine fouls it back, first base side. As you can just hear the ball trickle into the bleachers. That just tells you that the number of fans that have left after the 2 lengthy rain delays. Of course, with every lightning strike, it's half an hour until you can resume the game. 0-2, just missed outside. Falco trying to get a strikeout and paint the corner. One and 2. Matheson still off of second. Here it comes. Swinging a fly ball into shallow right field. Coming on a step is Woods, and he's got it for the 3rd out of the 7th. So a 2-out double for Matheson. He gets stranded there. And now Maryland are 6 outs away from sweeping the Hoosiers, and they will have 5, 6, and 7 due up in the top of the 8th inning as Brookside goes back out there for the Hoosiers. We'll take a break and be back for the 8th inning in a moment here on Big Ten Plus. It's actually 749 days exactly since they last lost, as Eddie Hakopian shows bunt and pulls back. The series maybe hasn't quite lived up to its billing, considering the way Maryland just dominated Indiana in both games 1 and 2. This game much closer, much more exciting. Hakopian accidentally nicks Ceruto on his backswing. I got him on the bare hand there, where he holds his mitt. Definitely no intent. Maryland came into this game, of course, we know what they did last year. They won the Big Ten by a good margin. They hosted a regional. They lost, ended up losing to UConn. There's a swing and a miss, 1 and 2. Came into this series on a much different side of things, of course, not being in first and knowing that the Big Ten lately hasn't put too many teams in the tournament. They were kind of on the outside, almost looking in, a bubble team, as we like to say these days. And certainly this series will really open the eyes of the committee and will really help them in terms of their shot to get in the field. 2-2. Past the glove of Glasser and into left field. And a good job for Hakopian to kind of go down and dig that one. And he's on with a leadoff single here in the 8th.
Good piece of hitting there from Hakopian. Just a little bit outside the outstretched arm of Glasser at short, and you're exactly right, Austin. Putting the Big Ten on notice and putting some of those around the country on notice here are Maryland with those 2 offensive outbursts. And really, they put up 9 runs again in this one. A fantastic offensive series for Maryland, but they've also done it on the defensive side as well, which I think is where some of the questions came from when you look at Maryland as a team who could potentially make an NCAA tournament.
Now it's Matt Woods at the plate. Had a grand slam yesterday as part of that big inning by the Terrapins. It was Maryland's 10th grand slam this season. NCAA record is 14. Definitely have some more time to break that. Indiana was a team, on the other hand, Zach, that had come in with a lot of confidence. Of course, they had won 6 straight. We talked with Jeff Mercer, who was trying to make sure to keep the guys grounded after a Big Ten series a few weeks ago against Illinois. Had a few midweek games, as there's a shot out to right field caught by Taylor. He read it nicely off the bat. Hakopian retreats to first as Woods is retired. But they had a big non-conference when we mentioned against Louisville here. They beat Cincinnati on the road in a close game. Of course, they swept Ohio, even though the first game of that series was probably much closer than they anticipated. The ninth inning got a bit hairy there. And then they beat Ball State for the second time this year. 2 high-scoring, exciting games. And he mentioned, Mercer did, that as soon as they huddled up after the Ball State game, that everyone was focused on Maryland. They were ready. And, of course, there was talks that they might host a regional, but they'd have to really basically run the table. They have some room for a couple losses, but the 2 losses right here and potentially a third on the horizon would really hurt their chances of hosting a regional, considering they really haven't been ranked inside the top 25. Definitely their RPI favors them a bit more than the committee that puts out the rankings every week. There's a base hit into center field from Lambros. Hakopian moves station to station. Maryland just continues to pound out hits here in this game. That's their 14th of the ball game. Lambros has not been retired yet. 2 singles, a homer, and 2 walks. And 2 runs scored as well.
The mindset here for Indiana is still keep this game within striking distance. You're only down by 2. Head coach for the Maryland Terrapins, Rob Vaughn, mentioned it to us pregame. There's no safe lead against this Indiana offense, so you just got to keep it close.
Jacob Orr fouls that one off of him. Rob Vaughn said on Friday, it's whatever team would kind of control their emotions more would win this series. And certainly in a game like this with the lengthy delays, it's tough to try and regroup. Moore fouls it straight back, and it's quickly 0-2.
Jeff Mercer mentioned to us yesterday that he didn't quite like the body language of his team Friday night after that big loss. He thought it was much better yesterday, despite yet another big loss for Indiana. But he's got such a young group, and that's what he consistently tells us.
There's another ground ball up the middle. There's a base hit for Orr. Hakopian takes the turn around third. Whalen's throw is cut off by Tibbetts. It's another single. It's another run for the Terrapins. They now have double digits for the 3rd time this series, and they lead 10-7. Second RBI for Orr in this one.
See how much longer Brookside goes. He's up to 31 pitches. He has started a couple of games this season for Indiana, so the pitch count not really a worry. But again, that close to hour-long break he got due to the second rain delay. Very difficult to come out, throw 2 pitches, take an hour-long break, and come out and throw now 29 more.
There's another single for Keister. The throw home is late. Lambros scores. Orr moves up to second. It's now a singles parade here for Maryland. 16th hit of the game, run number 11, and they lead 11-7 now as they are really feeling themselves and feel like they could be the first team in 12 years to sweep the Hoosiers here at Bart Kaufman.
I think that'll finally spark a change from Jeff Mercer and the Indiana Hoosiers. Brookside, another difficult situation to be put in with that rain delay, and looks like the Hoosiers will once again turn to the bullpen.
Jeff Mercer will go out and grab the ball from Brooks' eye. The second time he's had to do that to his pitcher, who he selected or he decided to leave in even after the rain delay. Another guy coming into the game trying to do damage control for Indiana. First and second for Maryland, and they have their leadoff man, Luke Schliger, at the plate. Takes the first pitch inside.
Schliger a lefty. That's why Jeff Mercer elects to go with the lefty on the mound out of the bullpen.
Trying to get the favorable matchup. There's a ground ball, but it just goes foul. Side of first. Orr off of second. Keister off of first. Already 2 runs in this inning for Maryland. It feels like lately it's been death by 1,000 singles. And this inning they have 4 of them.
I mean, the Terrapins have scored in every run but the first at this point, Austin.
It's been impressive, their offensive showing. These were really 2 of the top offensive teams in the Big Ten. Maryland came into this game a team average of .306 and OPS on base plus slugging of over 1,000, which is really impressive for a team. Averaged nearly double-digit runs a game, and it feels like at the end of this weekend they practically will. Scored 13 Friday, 16 yesterday, 11 today, and they're still not done here, hoping to add more. 2-2, 1 out, 2 on. Seiler swinging and gets a swing and a miss from Schliger. Second time he has struck out today. And 2 outs now with still 2 on.
This Maryland offense has really been on a tear pretty much this entire week. 80 runs throughout their last 5 games. That's good enough for 16 runs a game this week for Maryland. And they've done it pretty much in a multitude of ways. Extra base hits, home runs, we've seen a lot of those this weekend. This game has been a lot of singles. Just every way we've seen sacrifice bunts as well. There's not really much this offense can't do, especially when they're clicking, and they are for sure clicking right now.
They've scored double digits now, Zach, in 6 straight games. Midweek, they played 2 midweek games. Indiana just played 1 against Ball State, but they traveled to UMBC. Of course, we all know them for their upset win against Virginia in March Madness several years ago. Now not the first 16 seed ever to do it. They beat UMBC 24-11, and they scored 17 runs in the second inning alone. I was shocked when I saw that. Beat Georgetown 16-3 on Wednesday in 7 innings. Of course, 13-2 Friday, 16-2 yesterday, double digits again today. And this has been really their main hitter, Matt Shaw. Homered earlier in this game, and we had a nice nugget that was handed to us by Maryland's kind SID. He has home run the 4th straight game with a homer. That ties a program record, and he also did it twice. I should say he's done it twice. He did it last year, May 5th to the 15th. So, I mean, he has really been one of the best hitters, not only in the country, I should say not only in the conference, but in the country. And when you are the MVP of the Cape Cod League, which is the premier summer league college baseball site, that tells you something. It looks like he's not going to be able to get it here. Flies out to center field. Whalen makes the catch, and that will do it for the 8th inning as Shaw flies out to center. But Maryland, yet again, add another 2 runs. They get 4 hits. Top 2 teams in the Big Ten battling here in this series finale. If you're just joining us, well, not only have you missed a lot of runs, you've missed a pair of rain delays as well, or should I say lightning delays. There was a pretty good downpour during that second delay during the top of the 7th inning when the game was still tied at 7. David Falco Jr. still out there on the mound in his 2nd inning of work as Cerny grounds that one to short. Shaw is there, makes the strong throw across the diamond.
At least today and yesterday, a lot of strikeouts from Nick Dean on Friday night.
There's another ground ball to short. Ceruto grounds it to the other number 6, Shaw, and he makes another strong throw. 2 up, 2 down very quickly. And just quickly did the math. It's 5 groundouts today for Indiana. Now the 20 outs that Maryland have recorded. Hunter Jesse now at the plate. He's been on base all 3 times, 2 walks and a double. Came around to score in that 5th inning where Indiana scored 4 runs and briefly took the lead. That was now 2 rain delays ago. 1-0 up and away. Falco Jr., his dad played football at SUNY Cortland and he was the baseball and basketball captain in high school, and his nickname is Big Dave. Now it's 3-0 here on Hunter Jesse. The bottom of the lineup for Indiana, we mentioned that when this team is good, they can flip that lineup over. But coming into this game, Cerny was just 1 for 7. Ceruto was in a 3 for 25 skid, and Jesse was 3 for 17. He's kind of broken out of that a little bit, and he works his 3rd walk of the day, just as I say that.
But that 6, 7, 8 line for Indiana, not been as productive. And those are guys who have been productive this year. Josh Pine's hitting over 300. Tyler Cerny's a former Big Ten Freshman of the Week earlier this year. And Peter Ceruto has been good. especially behind the plate catching defensively.
There's a strike. Maryland is 12-0 this season when the team scores double digits in the run department. We mentioned this is the 6th straight game where they have scored in double figures.
Just doesn't seem like an Indiana team with a lot of juice right now. Obviously, a lot of fans choosing to leave with both lightning delays, but still, just doesn't seem to be a lot of energy on the Indiana side of things here at Barkhoffen Field this weekend.
2-1 fouled away.
It's kind of difficult when Devin Taylor hits 2 home runs, but there's 2 lightning delays in there as well, so you can't really build off of momentum on that. And even when he does hit those 2 home runs, Maryland has answered in the top half of those subsequent innings.
He only bats once every 9 times, he only bats once for every 9 batters that comes to the plate. I bet Jeff Mercer wishes he could clone him right now, turn into Bugs Bunny and play every position and bat every spot in the lineup, but he just can't quite do that. Be a full count here, so Jesse will get a head start with 2 outs. Wind still blowing. Full count pitch. Swung on and hit in the air to left field. Petrutz having to move over with the wind, and he can't quite catch it. Jesse was hustling the entire way. He will score. Moving into second is Philip Glasser, and that might just what Indiana needed in a game like this. And Indiana gets a run out of that with some luck, and will be ruled a double.
Sometimes, Austin, that's all you need. Just a little bit of luck.
Sometimes better to be lucky than good. Maryland takes a strike.
Indiana would really hope to scratch across this second run. Philip Glasser on second base. Try and cut into that deficit just a little bit more before the 9th inning.
0-1. Falco yanks it. And even though it's now just a 3-run game, Zach, it feels like it's been a lot more just because of the way Maryland has distributed their runs across all the innings. But suddenly the tying run, and oh, by the way, Devin Taylor is just waiting on deck. So this is a crucial hitter here for Falco. Pitch is outside. Did he go? No, he did not, says the first base umpire, Scott Wyckoff.
Going back to that Philip Glasser blue double as it was ruled. Sometimes that's all you need. Just put the ball in play and good things can happen.
Two and two.
Seen the Hoosiers put the ball in play a lot, and it's just been an infield ground out. But at some point, the fortunes will change, and if you try and get a little bit of lift on the ball like Glasser did there, anything can happen on a windy and odd weather day.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Here it comes. Called strike 3. Falco gets a big strikeout. Whalen not a huge fan of the call. He goes down looking, and that'll do it for Indiana's bottom of the 8th. So they get a little 2-out rally. They get 1 run on 1 lucky hit with the help of the win from Philip Glasser. They leave 1 man left on base. 11-8, Maryland leads. So look for some more insurance in the top of the 9th inning. Finally here in the top of the 9th inning, over 4 hours into this ball game, mainly because of 2 rain delays. Ben Seiler, the southpaw, back out there on the mound. Faced 3, 4, and 5 in the Maryland order. Nick LaRusso, Ian Petrutz, and Eddie Hakopian due up. LaRusso a righty. Petrutz is a lefty waiting on deck. 0-1 up and away. We talked a lot about, Zach, how Indiana felt kind of had a lot of momentum going into this game, but it feels like Maryland really needed these games for the RPI and whatnot. Maybe didn't play as strong as a schedule as Indiana has. They've had some few marquee wins this season. They beat Ole Miss, who was number 4 at the time, a true road win earlier this year. Lost those next 2 games. Their best wins this season probably before this series when they swept Iowa on the road. I should say, actually, they took 2 out of 3 from the Hawkeyes. And now are 3 outs away in the bottom of the 9th inning from sweeping Indiana. 2-2, misses low.
You also have to throw in the fact that they kept it close with Vanderbilt, lost that one by a run back earlier this year.
Actually played Ole Miss 4 times this year. They went 1-3. There's a full count walk worked by Nick LaRusso. It's his second walk of the game. We'll see a pinch runner here. Fresh legs for the Terrapins.
Obviously, every run now is key for Maryland, just trying to add any insurance runs that they can. Also, it might be a little bit of a race to try and get this game over with, as the weather's been a little up and down.
Yeah, good old Indiana weather. Never know what you're going to get. The wind definitely picking up in the last inning or so. Does not give off good signs that the weather will hold up, but right now would be a safe situation for the Terrapins in the bottom of the ninth inning, but they're hoping to add some more runs. Petrutz is at the plate. And it's Bobby Zmarzlak pinch running. Over now at first base. Senior, who was drafted in the 40th round of the 2019 MLB draft by the Baltimore Orioles. Big swing and a miss from Petrutz, who homered in yesterday's game and went over to right center field. Similar spot to where Taylor hit his today, just not as far. 479 feet. A tape measure shot from the freshman. 1-2 from Ben Seiler. Down, and it gets away from Ceruto, kicks up the third base line, and moving up 90 feet is Zmarzlak.
It's a problem that can arise when you rely on the slider as much as Ben Seiler does, especially to left-handed batters. Seiler likes to use that slider to work away from lefties, kind of just dive out of the zone. Sometimes it ends up in the dirt and can skip away.
2-2. Chop to second. Cerny is there. Zmarzlak will advance to third. One out.
We'll see. We've seen it a couple times this game. See if Rob Vaughn wants to put on a sacrifice bunt here, a safety squeeze possible. The Indiana infield is playing in, trying to not allow any insurance runs.
Foul ball. Hakopian just gets a piece.
Looks like the Hoosiers would most likely come home on any ball hit on the ground and not on the infield. So Zmarzlak has to be careful. Doesn't necessarily have to run on contact with just one out.
1-1 to Hakopian. Has had a good day at the plate. Fouls that one off. Just goes over the netting and could be a souvenir for somebody.
Top of the infield being brought in.
Well, now we're going to see a new pitcher. Jeff Mercer. And now he brings in the right-hander, Wes Burton. In a high-leverage situation, well, maybe not high leverage, but with a job to do, and that is to try and prevent the runner on third, who right now is Bobby Zmarzlak, who pinch ran for Nick LaRusso after he walked. There's one out with Hakopian, the Big Ten Player of the Week, at the plate, and he fouls one off, and the count is 1-2.
Only thing I can really think of is with Burton's profile, maybe trying to hope that he can induce a ground ball or weak contact on the infield rather than Seiler.
Burton, an Ole Miss transfer. 90 miles an hour misses low. From Santa Monica, California, graduate transfer, 6'8", 235 pounds.
Of course, he was on that Ole Miss team that won the College World Series.
Was touted as definitely one of the better pitchers Indiana was supposed to bring in this year, considering where he was last year, SEC baseball. Full count. Here it comes. Swing and a miss. Got him in the dirt to chase. Ceruto applies the tag. Nope, it's a foul ball. He just stays alive. Ceruto thinks otherwise. He motioned for the replay. There is no replay here in the Big Ten. He'll have a conversation with Hakopian, who nods and said, yeah, I did get a piece of that. So he stays alive.
Of course, Hakopian's going to say that he got a piece of that.
Of course.
Although at that point, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. The
right.
Call had already been made.
So here comes the 3-2 again. A pop fly into shallow right field. Might not be deep enough. Taylor gets under it, makes the catch. And it's just a bluff from Zmarzlak as he stays put. So a big second out recorded by Wes Burton. And now the responsibility lies in the hands of Matt Woods.
Now this is a situation where the decision to bring in a righty and bring in a new pitcher at all can potentially be questioned, as a lefty in Matt Woods steps to the box. But Burton's got good enough stuff that it doesn't necessarily matter.
First pitch, big swing and a miss from Woods. I mentioned he had a grand slam yesterday. He was definitely swinging for the fences there.
Thing with Burton is he gets much better when runners are on base.
Squares around to bunt, lays one down, Ceruto out. The throw is not in time. A bang-bang play at first. A gutsy decision from Woods to lay down a bunt. As close as it gets. And with that call, Maryland adds another run. It is 12-8. Indiana not very pleased. It was a very close play. Zach, I'm not going to lie, off the first glance, I thought they might have gotten him.
It did look like Ceruto kind of took a second longer than he really needed to make that play. Nonetheless, very close and very bold decision to lay down that bunt. It works out, though.
It's an infield single for Woods. Pitches upstairs. One 1-0, a swing and a drive out to left field. That ball is out of here. Elijah Lambros knew it as soon as it left the bat. It's a towering fly ball over the scoreboard in left field. It's the cherry on top in the series for the Terrapins, and they now lead 13-8.
The obvious thing to do, Austin, is look back to the call that was made immediately before that. It would have ended the inning and sent us to the bottom of the ninth, but that's just a fastball right down the middle. A player of Lambros' caliber who already had 3 hits on the day, now 4 for 4 on the day, is not going to miss that one at all. And of course, if you're Indiana, you're going to point to that bang-bang play at first base. That would have gotten them out of the inning. But now the Terrapins have really opened this one up. They got some much-needed insurance runs here in the ninth and have still scored in every inning except for the first one.
Score is now 14-8, my apologies. 395 feet, 102 miles an hour off the bat. That one definitely had much more of a launch angle. That was more of a moonshot than the others. So now the Maryland lead is 6, and Indiana's climb back into this game just got a lot steeper. They will have 3, 4, and 5 due up, the heart of their lineup, Taylor, Tibbetts, and Matheson.
Can't overstate how incredible of an offensive display this weekend and this week in general from the Terrapins offense. 14 runs again today. Crazy.
6 straight games with double digits, and that will do it for the top of the ninth inning, but not before the big blow from Elijah Lambros, the big 2-run shot after Woods reached with a bang-bang play at first base on the bunt. 6 runs after a 3-run ninth. Elijah Lambros with a home run, and how about that for a defensive gem? Eddie Hakopian, the reigning Big Ten Player of the Week, with a snag over at first. That's the second time that Devin Taylor today has hit the ball hard, but just right at somebody, and this is what you call a web gem.
Great play from Hakopian, and the smile on his face afterwards, too. That's just been the kind of weekend that Maryland has had on both sides, offensively and defensively. Really, everything's gone right, and it's because they're doing things to make things go right for them. They're putting themselves in the right situations, and they're capitalizing.
Now it's Brock Tibbetts. He takes a strike. It's a Maryland team. You look at the lineup. There are no freshmen. There are 4 sophomores, 3 juniors, and 2 seniors. It's a much more experienced team, and in situations like this is something we talked with Jeff Mercer yesterday after the blowout loss in a game where they didn't feel like weren't getting the calls from the umpires, just the game was getting out of hand. You look at today, that call that they thought they probably should have had to end that last inning instead ends up in another 2-run home run. It's just the little things that sometimes just as an inexperienced team are going to happen, and you just try and limit that from affecting you into the next day. As Tibbetts hits that one in the air to right, Woods is over and makes the catch, and Indiana is down to its final out.
That's why they scheduled Texas and Auburn earlier this year. You got to play good teams, and especially with a young team that's so player-led like this Indiana Hoosiers team is, you have to play good teams, and you have to get punched in the mouth. You have to give up 40 runs over a weekend series in order to get better. It's all about that player development here at Indiana.
1-0 is a strike. He talked about how, of course, you learn more by failing, and in baseball terms that would be losing rather than not. And he said as a coach you don't want to fail, you want to do whatever you can to win. And it feels like Indiana, they haven't failed too many times this season. Been a lot of successes, and they have just a plethora of young talent this year. 2-1 to Matheson, big hole on the left side. Falco taking his time, delivers a strike.
Now an even bigger hole on that left side.
Next up for Maryland, we mentioned they'll fly home tomorrow, and they play Mount St. Mary's at home on Tuesday, and they have a nice homestand waiting ahead of them. 3 games against Nebraska, a midweek against Northeastern. There's a base hit for Matheson, keeps the game alive. He is now 3 for 5 today. He's got 3 hits in his last 3 at-bats. That'll be up to Josh Pine. Big Ten series. Indiana has a full week off, for it feels like the first time in a few, and they will travel to Evanston to take on Northwestern next week in a series that is looking more and more important for Indiana to get back on track. Falco 0-1 to Pine. Swing and a miss. Indiana's down to its final strike. Oh-2. Here it comes from Falco. Fouled straight back. That was headed our direction. We all put our hands up. Zach, you and I were always ready.
I would have made that play.
I bet. Well, we were down on the field earlier today talking with Maryland's head coach Rob Vaughn. We mentioned he's in his 6th season looking to pick up win number 171 on the team, and Maryland was taking batting practice, and we joked, and we said, well, if there's a lefty that really pulls one, what would happen? And you said, if you gave me a glove, I'd catch it, what, 60% of the time?
Yeah, depending on how hard it's hit.
I think if it was hit our way, none of us had gloves on. I think we would all just ducked. Hope for the best. 1-2, 2 outs. Matheson off of first. Chopped to short. This should do it. The short way from Shaw to Keister, and that will do it. Break out the broomsticks in Bloomington for the first time ever. Indiana is swept at home here at Bart Kaufman Field as they drop this one 14-8 to the Terrapins. They drop all 3 games, give up double-digit runs.